Hi and welcome to Indigo Starfire. My name is Bevin, and in this video I'm going to be looking into the question, is this person just a lesson, or will they turn out to be your biggest blessing in love? There are three groups to choose from. Group 1 is the Amazonite. Group 2 is the Cobra Jasper. And Group 3 is the Heliotrope. So if you want to take a moment to center, focus on your breathing, and feel whichever group, maybe multiple groups or perhaps all of the groups that you're most drawn to. I'll give you a minute to make your selection and then we'll get right into it. And there are timestamps in the description box of the video for each group if you'd like to jump ahead. And up next is a close-up photo of the crystals to help you better make your selection. Hi, Group 1. You chose the Amazonite. So let's see, is the person on your mind going to just be a lesson, or will they turn out to be your biggest blessing in love? Okay, so the first card we have is White Buffalo Calf Woman, Integrity. So this is all about the energy of prophecy and destiny, a fated connection. So this is definitely something where if you're going through a rocky patch with this person at this time, there is a high likelihood that the situation will evolve. Things will turn out in favor of a reunion between the two of you or transcending to the next level in the connection with one another. It may be that there are some karmic threads or ties kind of between the two of you that are needing to be worked through, that periods of difficulty or triggering allows each of you to sort of have that opportunity to self-reflect, do that inner work. Of course, everybody has free will, so there's no guarantee that the other person is going to be equally as enthusiastic about kind of going within to heal as maybe you are, but you can definitely sort of help to facilitate the higher likelihood of a positive outcome by being very proactive to tend to your own sort of emotional needs, whatever is triggered within you, working on that, facing those shadows very directly, whatever's mirrored by this person to you. And that's a way that you can guarantee you are investing in a higher likelihood of this situation turning out to move forward very positively for the two of you. We also have Raven Magic. So this is again the energy of like the shadow. Any kind of difficulties, it feels like, are giving birth to some kind of creative void between the two of you where anything could happen. There's a high likelihood that something that may seem like kind of a hopeless or an unlikely situation, that there is the ability to transcend all of that. But in order to reach that next level within the connection, it's almost like the journey to that transcendence is through the parts of yourselves that you are each fearing to look at very directly. On the other side of all of that, of course, again, there are no guarantees that each person will sort of do equal work, but it almost feels to be something that either way, if you are triggered by this situation or there's some heavier or kind of darker emotions that have been brought up within you through your experiences with this person in the past or even presently, you stand to win in the situation. You are served by tending to these aspects within yourself, that even if this person sort of lags on their end of the equation or gets distracted or maybe doesn't choose to kind of go as in depth with their own sort of shadow work and healing as you are, it feels like on the other side of that situation, it'll be a blessing for you either way. It feels like there's also an element of mystery to this, where it's coming through as kind of these energies of, if people are both doing their work within themselves, then that happily ever after is very accessible. But it almost feels like something where you're not meant to kind of know for certain what the outcome is, and that almost would be the greater motivator to not sort of engage in this work within yourself purely for kind of the outcome or the yield, almost like I'm going to do my shadow work just so that I can sort of earn this person or, prepare myself for a reunion or the next stage of evolution with them. But it almost feels to be something where there needs to be a vagueness. It needs to be kind of cloaked in mystery so that you are able to go inside yourself, motivated purely by kind of doing this for you, healing for you, up-leveling for you, learning to kind of love yourself in a more adequate way than this person has been able to do up to this point or in the past, so that you are fulfilled, you are enriched, you are filling your own cup. And then it feels like on the other side of a process, maybe even a dark night of the soul that you're in or that this person's in at this point in time, it feels like the type of love that you are excavating within yourself, or that you're striving to become, or that you're sort of nudged to sort of seek out and find or develop within yourself, it'll be met with that adequate person or that complementary match, that kind of counterpart energy, whether it is the person on your mind that you're watching the reading for in like a transfigured version of themselves, or somebody else that kind of has walked an adjacent path and is meeting you at that kind of higher level. These energies really speak to the idea of something transforming, something developing, love being on the other side of like a heavy process of whatever difficulties you faced, whatever's been triggered emotionally, tending to those things rather than running away from them yields a guarantee of love for you in the form of some person who is meeting you at that higher plane of vibration. And we also have squaring the circle. So this is like the idea of trying to fit a square peg within a round hole. So again, this could be almost like an opposites attract, or a lot of like triggering, a lot of wounding that needs to be sort of dealt with. This can speak to a higher level soulmate connection where, there can be karmic implications with that, but not all karmic soulmates are just, somebody that comes in that's meant to trigger you and then that's the end of the story. It can often be sort of the people that mirror the things that we don't want to look at within ourselves, the aspects that we fear the most, or the place where we have the most wounding. Those can be some of the more valuable assets as far as soulmate connections or karmic connections are concerned. It is possible to do that work within self and essentially burn away those karmic cords that keep distance or keep dissonance as kind of a theme within dynamics, and then that opens up the possibility to kind of rebuild, heal, or regenerate in a more positive direction. So it feels like transcendence is a big sort of theme within this situation. Kind of the task or the lesson is learning to become that love that you are seeking. And on the other side of that, it feels like even if there are, lessons that you're having to work through with this person, if they don't sort of meet you on the other side of your own kind of personal process of transformation, it feels like this is a situation that you will look back almost like it might have been a blessing in disguise, or something where you might even evolve and the version of yourself on the other side of a healing process, or something that you are called to sort of address or do within yourself. It's almost like without this person, without these triggers, without this situation, you wouldn't have had that motivation to start this work. This person in some way, it feels like, has catalyzed a transformation for you as you have done for them. But again, there's this element of sort of free will at play here, where even if you invest in kind of working on yourself and healing and growing, there's no guarantee that this other person will as well. So it's not outside of the realm of possibility that there can be a happily ever after with this individual. And it feels like either way, you're headed for that. You're headed for that happily ever after. You create it within yourself. It manifests for you materially in the form of a person who can reciprocate those kind of energies. And so either way, it feels like this situation, this person might almost be your biggest blessing in love, because they've nudged you in the direction of seeking and finding that love you desire inside of yourself, which then increases your odds of magnetizing in a partner that is able to kind of receive that and reciprocate that with you. And we also have harmony. So there's an energy here of a meeting of the minds, going deeper within the heart space within each of you, kind of love being the compelling force, but then with all this kind of like green, this heart chakra energy, and then we've got this, kind of the black, the creative void, that kind of yang energy, that other polarity. It's almost like light and shadow. It's sort of a 50-50 chance that things can work out, because each of you are needing to go on your own sort of inner quest, become that love that you are seeking. taking. Take the opportunity of, what's been triggered in this situation, what's been brought up emotionally within both of you, that has caused somebody to run, is causing the other person perhaps to chase, or if you're both just sort of sitting in your separate corners dealing with a lot of heaviness that's churned up. It's all about sort of seeing opportunity within that obstacle and making a way forward for yourselves beyond those kind of heavy things that have been brought up. And that being the biggest gift of this situation. So it's almost the idea of, like, again, the blessing and love that may or may not be in the form of this person meets you on the other side of like a cocoon that you've had to go into, a dark night of the soul, and then you will emerge as a different version of yourself, whoever it is on the other side of that, as you walk through the door of love that you've created for yourself inside of yourself. It might be this person, or you may be very directly aligned because of this person and the journey which has begun for you with another individual who has also gone through a similar process of metamorphosis. And we have creative expression. So more of that energy of metamorphosis with all these butterflies. And again, that creative void, a lot of infinite potential within this situation. It's definitely a kind of a never say never circumstance, but it feels like the biggest blessing of all in this situation may be this other person's resistance to change, or the fact that things didn't work out in a linear sense with you right from the start, because it's necessitated that you go in and up level in some sort of capacity. It's a very self-directed energy, self-focus, self-love being themes in this situation. So something where if there's a lot of healing that's required, it may even be something where you're encouraged to kind of come to that point within yourself of asking that question. If this is someone I have to heal from, does that truly equate with what I understand or what I envision would be a high level soul connection? Is my true love, or the love of my life, somebody that I have to pick up the broken pieces from, or as a result of, that I'm left with all this wounding that I'm then tasked to heal? So the blessing might even be in the element of sort of detaching from the situation. You've gained something because you've been propelled on a healing journey. And, if this person is able to kind of match that frequency and effort in their own life, it opens up the door to something more. But either way, kind of you learn to value yourself on such a level that you're magnetizing in compatible partners that kind of meet you at that higher vibration. And we also have look inside yourself. So another confirmation that kind of you are the main focus of this situation. So again, like a never say never sort of circumstance, people can change all the time. People can, have that awakening and sort of do that work within. But it feels like the main kind of purpose of this situation is for you to gain something. This other person to sort of mirror to you aspects of yourself that you hadn't recognized were blocks to giving and receiving that higher level and healthy and reciprocal love, to go inside and fill your own cup, become that love that you are seeking, and then to move with kind of an openness, or allow yourself to almost be pleasantly surprised by the universe in the form of who it is that is that kind of match, that is that counterpart, that greets you on the other side of a willingness to invest in yourself and kind of do that heavy lifting within. So this person that you're watching the video for, they are a gift, they are a blessing, in the sense that they've almost kind of compelled you or directed you to turn that focus inside yourself. So let's get a few message cards from this person's higher self and see what they would tell you right now if they could. Okay, and they say, I was selfish and took you for granted. Please forgive me. So it feels like even if you're at a distance, you're in no contact, there's silence, there's separation, this person is still heavily affected by you, or they were heavily affected by the experiences with you. They see your value and worth. Now that the dust has settled, or time has kind of compounded the distance and the silence between the two of you. And so it may be something where this element of self-reflection is a signal or an indicator that they are beginning or are in some stage of that journey of personal transformation. Now, depending where you are on your process, it may be in your best interest to sort of wait, give this person an opportunity to catch up, or you may be at a place where, you're willing to kind of move forward, or you're interested in, sort of opening yourself to the idea of a partnership with somebody else. You've waited long enough. You've held space long enough. You've held on to hope long enough. And so it may be where you are a lesson for this individual. They are your blessing because you have now embarked, or you're beginning to embark on a process of kind of bettering yourself, learning to love yourself, learning to understand yourself and kind of your attachment styles, or, any kind of wounds that have been triggered or have been brought to the surface. And it may be that kind of the takeaway from it is you are the lesson for this person. You're the one that got away, which helps them to be more conscientious the next time the universe offers the gift or opportunity of the gift of love in the form of another person to them. And we also have, I see my future with you. So again, there's that energy of almost like the one that got away, recognizing now your value and worth that they weren't able to see before. It may even be, again, kind of the aspect of sort of heavy karmic ties or attachments or threads between the two of you, that you are each needing to go your separate directions in order to work on some of this stuff individually, privately, things that couldn't have been done in a connection with one another. So it's almost like right person, wrong time. Now, whether this person is able to sort of meet you further down the road or you move forward without them, it feels to be something that they recognize that worth. It is something which is nudging them to start to kind of take some action within their own life to sort of repair things that, might have been kind of obstacles between the two of you in the past, or in some sort of way to work on those issues within them that caused them to push you away or run from the situation, or anything that had kind of interfered in the past in the dynamic between the two of you. But, they're kind of tasked with their own sort of series of things that they need to address. You're tasked with your own sort of series of things that you need to address. And ultimately, it feels like you both have the ability to prepare yourselves for the partner that is kind of the match to that higher, healthier, or healed vibration or manifestation of yourselves further down the road. Now, whether that is each other or whether that is different people for each of you, it's only kind of time can tell. And we also have, it should have been you. So there may have been a third party situation. This person could have left you for another person, returned to an ex, or maybe there was a lot of wounding from a previous relationship. They were afraid to fall in love again. They were afraid to open their heart. They may have kind of judged the connection unfairly based on people from their past that were careless with their hearts. A lot of kind of wounding and fear that may have sort of been a third party in and of itself in the dynamic between the two of you. And so this may be something that this person is starting to recognize, they're starting to address. They may have had some sort of rude awakening that they've, you're the one that got away. They let someone that was really good for them sort of slip through their fingers, and now they are left with this energy of here's that wound, here's that glaring reality, that they are in certain ways maybe no better off than they were before they met you, now that they're at a distance. And we also have, I don't know how to change. I am asking for help. So for some people, maybe this person is going to therapy. They're looking into self-help. They're doing some meditation. They're praying. They're reflecting. If there were lifestyle changes that need to take place, or even kind of just a whole attitude shift within this person, it feels like something that they definitely recognize that there was a lot of untapped potential between the two of you that they've not been able to forget about. Whatever you've had with one another, it feels like that they have not been able to reach that level of kind of intimacy and connectedness with any other person. Maybe they're reflecting on relationships before, or anything that they've had since the two of you have been with one another. It's somebody that this is not an out of sight, out of mind situation, but it feels like they are kind of stuck now in this place of sort of, what do I do in order to move back towards this person? What do I do to sort of deal with the nature of the shadows that have surfaced, that are glaringly obvious, need to be addressed and need to be healed and need to be worked on if there is to be a future in this situation? So I'm going to get some initials. This can be a first, middle, or last name if you or this person, or could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. We've got I, G, W, T, O, A, U, Q, E, H, W, T, and U. So So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link to that in the description box of the video. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 2. You chose the Cobra Jasper. So, let's see. Person on your mind. Are they just a lesson, or will this turn out to be your biggest blessing in love? Okay, so the first one that we have is Owl Awareness. So this is all about the energy of wisdom. This may be something where any kind of challenges, tribulations that you are experiencing with this individual, there's a high likelihood that it will motivate the two of you to really learn what is worth fighting for within yourselves, within your own life, and working through any kind of blocks and barriers in order to transcend difficulties and move into a place of kind of proving that the love is worth fighting for, proving that it's worth this kind of test of endurance to overcome challenges inside and outside. There's a high likelihood of kind of transcending the difficulties and reaching this place where you are both stronger and wiser by virtue of the fact that, like, the bond between the two of you, the chemistry and potential between the two of you, it's something that is able to outlast anything that has threatened to come between the two of you, anything that has kind of taken you in separate directions, maybe a period of separation that is necessary in order to heal some things within the silence. But this is almost the energy of kind of learning healthier communication skills or healthier kind of emotional coping skills as kind of a fringe benefit almost of something that may feel to be kind of like the ultimate love story. The one that sort of, outshines all others, or the one that really helps you to understand why it didn't work out with anybody else. Even if this hasn't been a linear path forward with this individual, it feels that you're both growing or have the ability to grow, or there's a strong motivation to seek and find obstacles within each of you and to overcome those things, topple those things so that you're able to grow into better versions of yourselves, to continue connecting with one another, to continue to invest in kind of the long-term future, long-term potency and potential within this situation. So you both kind of help each other to sort of rise to the occasion and exceed the expectations of what you have thought kind of the universe had in store for you as far as love. Maybe even this person is very motivating as far as like personal goals that you have. You're very motivating for them as far as personal goals that they have, a sense where you are better together than apart, or the connection affects each of you in your own way very positively, and in a sense that almost an intuitive knowing that you've not crossed paths by accident. There's something fated, like a destiny about this that is worth fighting for. There's an energy here that this individual sees how exclusive and rare that you are in terms of compared to individuals they've met before, or even just the time in their life where you've entered the equation. They're understanding that there's something of the sacred to this. There's something where they don't want to miss out on the opportunity to be with you or to take the connection to the next level, or if you're experiencing a period of distance, to really not let a window of opportunity pass them by. And so they may be somebody who's working up the courage to, confess some things, profess feelings, or make some kind of declaration that lets you know they're in this for the long haul. They're in it for the long term. They see you as a blessing because you are kind of worth fighting for. You're worth sort of overcoming their lower nature in order to embody more of their higher self, which it feels like this person may be very spiritual individual. Before they met you, they may have kind of had this awareness of looking for that higher level soulmate. It's something they've been preparing for. You've been preparing for this individual, and so it's almost like you can kind of meet each other on that transcended plane and experience a higher level love, or it's become motivation, a deep motivation for this person to seek to kind of embody a better version of themselves because they're feeling that you're worth more or worthy of more than they've given up to this point, or that they've given other people in previous relationships. A sense of they don't want to lose out or miss out, or kind of live with the sense of regret or a wondering of what if they hadn't tried harder, or hadn't kind of been forthright or open and kind of going with the flow and trusting with the process of whatever hesitations have come up, whatever difficulties have come up, or even a process of just kind of getting to know one another, maybe opening your hearts to love again after being hurt in the past. That can be the energy here as well, where this may be somebody who's kind of been through the ringer emotionally speaking, and so they understand or see you as a quality person, and so this, it feels like, is giving them the motivation to fight for this situation, or to kind of do what it takes in order to make space, make room, make accommodation within their life in order to give this connection the highest possibility of kind of blossoming into something more, something long term. And we also have crone, wisdom. So that's more that energy of longevity. This could definitely be your forever person. This could be somebody that helps to really change the way that you look at love, in terms of maybe you've had people that give up very easily, give up when things are tough. They're there in the sunshine, but as soon as the storms come, they're nowhere to be found. You may have been left high and dry on more than one occasion, or one occasion very significantly where you needed someone in kind of your toughest times, and the person that you were with, or the one that you thought would never abandon you, had perhaps moved on, or just kind of left, pulled the rug out from under you. That may have been a very strengthening and empowering experience because you needed to go through some things on your own, pick up the pieces by yourself, and kind of move into more of an energy of sovereignty, or kind of just forging a different version of you. And so it feels like something that whatever you've been through in your romantic or emotional past, or even just your life experience, it's all been preparation for the person that's on your mind. They as well have been through some things that have kind of made them a little more world weary, or a little more kind of conscientious as far as how they were showing up romantically, maybe exercising more discernment as far as like who they open their heart to, who they open their life to. Expectations is love, managing some of those expectations, expanding beyond kind of a limited or linear perspective in terms of what is possible within partnerships. And so it feels like you and this person align very deeply. This may be almost like a newer connection where you're sort of wondering, like, is this chemistry and potential? Is this something that can take us forth into the long term? Is this worth opening my heart to or continuing to invest in? And both the energies of the owl and the crone speak to long-term future potential. So something that may be almost like a slow climb to the top. Slow and steady wins the race in this situation, but it feels that you and this person are very well matched in terms of your compatibility, your goals for the future of the connection, intentions, things that haven't even been spoken out loud. They align very deeply with one another. And so it's almost something that might be kind of a slow burn, rather something that's like passionate and quick. It's the essence of like building a very strong foundation with one another, utilizing the wisdom each of you has acquired through your kind of losses in life and losses in love, as well as your triumphs and victories, building in a different way than you each have in partnerships before. And that there's a lot of kind of singularity in the sense of both of you being very interested in sort of like, how do we make this work in a long-term sense? What do we need to do in order to continue to progress this situation forward, or move beyond any kind of choppy waters we find ourselves in? Because it feels like they are just as invested as you are in kind of seeing this through to a place of victory. And we also have rebirth. So if you have had difficulties with this person, again, they may be on the brink of kind of reaching out with an apology, something that may actually be very surprising, that reflects a level of like emotional awareness, a humility within this person, or just a willingness to kind of admit where they were wrong, what the shortcomings were, maybe even talking very openly about fears and hesitations, giving you more context as far as, maybe even their backstory and romance, other things going on in their their life that have created a degree of uncertainty or guardedness within this situation up to this point that may have caused some skepticism or hesitation. It feels like this individual in many ways is sort of a tier above anybody that you have experienced in love and partnership up to this point in time. Whatever you've experienced or uncovered about them up to this point, it's only just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more to this person than meets the eye, or so much more than you have been shown up to this point in time in love, that it feels like what will emerge out of the turning of the page or next chapter, or kind of the next stage of evolution between the two of you, it'll be very surprising. It's something almost that's a whole new animal in terms of love. It's something that you've never known before. It might even be that this person is kind of bringing forth a version of them that has never sprouted in a loving partnership and a loving connection. All of that really speaks to the energy of potency and growth, and a willingness to kind of step beyond comfort zones and not allow fears or triggers or wounds to sort of limit the capacity to invest sort of nurturing and healing and growth oriented energies within the situation. So it feels like something of almost kind of rising beyond sort of the current level, the current expectation, the current experiences with this person, and again sort of a connection that almost gains wings and takes flight beyond what you are sort of perceiving or anticipating or maybe fearing as the outcome in the situation, which can reflect some wounds that need to be sort of dealt with or addressed. Maybe it's that fear of abandonment. Maybe this is even a situation that sort of helps to heal your heart by kind of in essence of the fact that it's the antithesis of everything you've experienced before in love. It's bringing forth a lot of those kind of fears about what if it's like this situation or that situation? What if I end up in the same place that I started off as when I had to, heal and pick up the pieces after that one person that I was dealing with? All of these things like points of comparison. It feels that this situation and this person and where it's headed, it's going in a very opposite direction. But in order to sort of climb to that polarity, it requires almost the addressing and discarding of fears and hesitations, kind of the this or that energy. This is something very growth oriented. So therefore all of that you experienced in a very dissatisfactory sense with other people in your romantic past, the more you let those things loose, the more that it almost unleashes the ability for this situation with this individual to continue to kind of have levity and lift. We also have initiation. So this is like Ace of Cups kind of energy here. This is something that blossoms. This is something that is very different from what you've known before. This almost feels to be somebody that has a very different love language or a different capacity to feel love and emotions, or a different relationship with kind of the nature of their own emotions than anyone you've dealt with before, anyone you've met, platonic, family, romantic. This is someone cut from a very different cloth, or they've gone through a very different process of kind of personal growth and transformation. They represent in some way a new cycle in love for you. You've maybe closed out some karmic wounds, you've closed out some patterns, some chapters in your own life, and now you've been gifted the opportunity to encounter a different type of romantic partner. You've chosen yourself on at least one occasion in the past, and it's activated the potential to connect with an individual like this, or to be able to experience kind of a growth-oriented connection, where in the past you might have dealt with people in situations that had potential, but then they stagnated and fizzled out. It feels like this person or this situation has a lot of staying power. There's a lot of love. There's the blossoming of love. There's almost like a deep core knowing that sort of the opportunity to experience the fullest potential within this situation is the highest good. This isn't a circumstance that even if there's a lot that's unknown or there's uncertainty at this point, it's almost like the possibilities for what can develop, they're not capped. There's no limit on it. It could become infinitely beyond what you would expect to experience in love and partnership in general, or at this point in your life, very reciprocally for you and this other person. And so it may even be just kind of anything that's creating sort of a leeriness or a hesitation within you. This is that initiatory process of being confident enough to trust that you've done the work to heal and evolve and grow, go through some kind of rebirth, let go of things that no longer served you, and almost the idea of kind of acclimating to sort of this fresh energy as something very unknown, something that you've never experienced before, but it's here in your life now because you've created kind of that resonance of a new version of you. You are an unknown version of yourself, emotionally speaking, as compared to who you were in your previous dealings with other partners. So it feels like the biggest task within this situation is just learning to kind of trust, open your heart, and go with the flow of this situation, because there seems to be a very vast potential for happiness that you haven't even experienced all of it up to this point with this person. And we also have look inside yourself. So again, this is that energy of kind of the yield of some shadow work that you've done, the yield of being willing to kind of sit with your wounds and, take personal ownership where necessary, release any kind of grudges or grievances as far as like people who did you wrong in the past, emotionally speaking, whatever your process of kind of detachment, letting go, closing out certain chapters, releasing kind of cycles, toxicity, belief systems, mindsets, all of that. It's generated very positive growth within you, and so you now have attracted in a partner or a blossoming relationship that can turn into a partnership, even something that can become long term because of that willingness to invest within yourself. So it may again kind of reflect this sort of element of anything that makes you feel very fearful or uncertain, or kind of like a need to know, a bit of anxiety, sort of like what's happening, what's this person thinking, where is this going? It's all sort of signaling a need to kind of come back and be very present within the moment. Trust that you've sort of, you've generated this situation, or you've called this situation into your life because of the work that you've done within yourself. There's the energy of reward within. You've become that love you were hoping to experience with another person, and now it is arrived in the form of somebody who is matching that frequency. You're connecting with this person in this emotional way because they are the equivalent of some kind of frequency you've cultivated within yourself, or some degree of healing that you've chosen to prioritize in your life. And we also have environmental awareness. So this is again that energy of, a very kind of organically developing connection, kind of a slow developing connection. Slow and steady wins the race, something that has a deep potential to become a very abundant situation. There's, 10 of Pentacles energy within here. This could be the one. This could be the person that you have been searching for. You could be the person this other person has been searching for. But there's a need to kind of just not get miles ahead of yourself and sort of look too much to the expectation of outcomes, but there's something to be experienced and enjoyed about the present moment. Lean into the space of the unknown, because it feels like something that there will come a time where it will be revealed of just like, this is the one that you've been waiting for. But in order to savor that in the fullest capacity that you can, it's necessary to sort of enjoy every step along that progress and journey. It may be something where this person is a giver as far as emotions are concerned. That might be something that's making you a little tense or uncomfortable. You may be somebody who's used to kind of pouring into the connection, over giving in situations, being the one to kind of do a lot of that heavy emotional lifting. And you may now be confronted with somebody that is actually like your equivalent. They are you in kind of another body. They're giving, they're willing to invest. They may have dealt with issues of like people pleasing, codependency, being the only one to kind of hold the weight or the belief within connections in their past as well. So it almost feels like something where you're being encouraged to sort of switch roles, get out of the giver, move into the receiver energy. And so there could be a degree of discomfort because it feels a little bit unusual. It feels like, am I doing the right thing? Is this headed in a good direction? I'm uncertain what the future is, because you're taking on a different stance than you have in terms of romantic and emotional partnerships. And it feels like that, just shifting the way in which you are showing up in this situation, which it feels like this other person and what they're bringing to the table, it just naturally necessitates that. Instead of leading in the circumstance, you're following in this situation. And so it's the element of kind of just trusting that. Trust that you've prepared to sort of occupy this space within a romantic connection and open your mind to the infinite possibilities and kind of the blessing of love that can be experienced through this different approach that you're taking here, that's kind of necessary in this situation compared to what you've known or experienced in your past. So I'm going to get some messages from this person's higher self and see what they would tell you right now if they could. Okay, and they say, I can be myself when I'm with you. So this is the energy of, two people that are very perfectly aligned for one another. You are this person's wish fulfillment. You are their dream come true. They've been through enough things in their life or in terms of like emotional ups and downs that they recognize the value and worth and the potential within this situation. So it feels like somebody that will continue to kind of fight beyond their own doubts, fears, and hesitations in order to move closer, in order to keep pouring into this situation, keep investing, keep showing up, keep being that kind of constancy of presence for even at the times where, you might be triggered, you might be scared, you might be nervous and sort of retreat within yourself. It feels like this person is very much holding their ground in terms of having a lot of patience, understanding, or even empathy, for your process, a new kind of role that you're taking on in terms of romance where, they're not going to be a doormat, but they're definitely sort of waiting for you to kind of move into a place of trust and acclimating and adjusting to sort of this new type of dynamic with another person, emotionally speaking. We also have, I want to spoil you. So there's that energy of a giver that you may be dealing with. And that could be something that's sort of confusing your intuition a little bit. You may be almost looking around like, are there red flags in this situation? This person feels a little too good to be true. It might be very illuminating for you as far as the way in which tables have turned in some way. If you were dealing with someone in your past that maybe ran from you and a connection that you shared out of the sense of like too good to be true, or they were doubting kind of the intentions or the nature of what was being experienced, you might find yourself kind of in that person's position now. You're faced with something that is healthy. You're faced with somebody that, is participating, is wanting to give, is wanting to move at like an organic or slow pace. And it may be something that can even provide like a level of healing or just vindication or in some way understanding for someone or people that you'd been dealing with in the past, to be able to kind of close those doors, close those chapters of your reality, truly get some healing for yourself emotionally, or kind of just put like a finale on something that has maybe kind of been bubbling beneath the surface, or had been just sort of sitting as kind of a negativity or a toxicity within. It feels like the person that you're dealing with now, that you're watching the video for, has the capacity to kind of fill your heart emotionally in a way that it won't feel so heavy as the result of people that couldn't see your worth and value in the past and kind of chose to run in the other direction. So you continue to also do your part to invest in the emotional health and the longevity of this situation by perhaps recognizing and understanding ways in which you may be sort of uncomfortable or unsure what to do because you're experiencing a very different kind of treatment, or someone who's showing up differently for you in this situation than what you've known before. Recognizing if you are the one who's running, if you're the one who's in kind of an avoidance sort of energy, and then sort of talk yourself into kind of the place, or warm yourself up to the ability to lean back into this position with this person. Don't push them away. Don't run away from the situation. Just kind of recognize that sort of triggered response within you, and it feels like this person is patient or self-aware enough, or aware of the dynamic enough, maybe even your backstory, what you've been through, to be able to sort of hold that space while you kind of maneuver and make your way to the place where you're able to sort of receive what they have to give, and kind of open your mind, free yourself from expectations of what will develop, and just be very much in the moment. Allow yourself to be kind of given that gift of love that you may have so selflessly given away to others in the past who couldn't value it, who couldn't appreciate it. And we also have, I know I'm running out of time. So this is the energy of somebody who wants to take things to the next level. They may be sensing a bit of like, what is this person's intentions? Where is this going? They could be, again, like preparing to make some kind of confession, some kind of declaration, some way in which they're getting ready to open up their heart, or open up to a degree of clarity. So you have a greater perspective as far as what they're envisioning for the future. This is somebody who doesn't want the connection to fade away. They don't want to kind of linger in this nebulous zone with you forever. They've got forward-thinking intentions or thinking long-term in this situation. They're not wanting to waste time, sort of allowing fear or wounds of the past to create any obstacles or wedges between the two of you. But this is somebody who's kind of doing their part to fight through those hesitations within themselves. And in that way, it feels like trying to set an example, even silently, for you to sort of do the same on your part, to recognize what's been triggered, what wounds are there from past relationships, or even like inner child wounds, things within the shadow, to heal that, to work beyond it. So it speaks to the energy of a connection where you're both healing and growing in tandem with one another. And we also have, I pushed down my feelings for so long. So again, this is somebody who may be getting ready to, confess their love for you, confess deeper feelings, take things to the next level, some kind of deep heart-to-heart conversation that they're wanting to have with you, an apology for any sort of misunderstandings that have occurred. This is somebody that sees you as worth fighting for. The connection is worth fighting for. It's worth sort of overcoming obstacles within, or a fear of being hurt, a fear of being vulnerable, a fear of opening up, especially if they're kind of in this energy where they're a giver. Maybe they've had to sort of close off emotionally from previous relationships, do some healing within, and so this may even be a challenge for this person to kind of trust themselves or trust these energies enough to keep pouring into the situation, to keep showing up. So it feels like you're both kind of tiptoeing around a degree of almost like, am I ready for this, or are we ready for everything that could happen? Are we ready for that forever sort of person? Ironically enough, the idea of like the universe has gifted you both very consciously this awareness of like the person you've each been looking for, and then there's sort of a threshold, maybe a comfort zone, a series of boundaries that need to be sort of stepped beyond for each of you, in order to kind of do your part to rise to the occasion in this situation, claim this love, for yourselves, in order to be able to sort of move together towards that next aspect of whatever will develop between the two of you. So I'm going to get some initials. This can be a first, middle, or last name of you or this person, or could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. We've got G, E, A, F, H, P, S, B, M, O, L, Y, H, V, J, and F. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link to that in the description box of the video. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 3. Chose the heliotrope. So let's see, the person on your mind, are they just a lesson, or will they turn out to be your biggest blessing in love? Okay, so the first one we have is Dolphin Embodiment. So this person, it feels like, has had some kind of awakening. They are, aware. They're aware of what this connection is. Maybe this is somebody who ran from you in the past, or the intensity, the nature of the connection in the past. They were overwhelmed. It triggered a lot of deep wounds within themselves. It may have catalyzed a spiritual awakening within each of you, kind of propelling each of you into some sort of dark night of the soul, or something that this person had resisted in the past. And so that may have set you on separate paths. You've moved in different directions, but it feels like this is somebody who is now getting in touch with their higher self. They've had some kind of profound transformation, something that almost maybe left them no other choice but to change. This is a different version of the person that you were dealing with in the past, or they have a higher level of awareness that you have come into one another's lives for a very particular reason. It may be somebody you've been disconnected from for quite some time. You're both very different individuals, and so right person, wrong time in the past. It's almost like destiny may have put you back in sort of contact with this person, back in their awareness. They've sought you out. They are seeking you out. They're getting ready to present themselves as kind of an evolved version of who you were dealing with before. There's a sense that it almost like wasn't meant to happen before in that situation, because you each needed to sort of go through your own process of growth and healing and evolution. But this is somebody who, may be very like spiritually aware now, very in tune psychically, energetically. There may have been some transcendence within this individual, and they are seeing, or they're willing at this point in time, where they may not have been willing before, to kind of move beyond obstacles and barriers. This might have been somebody that chose the path of fear over the path of love as far as the circumstance with you is concerned, and it's something that they regretted. It's something that feels like that may have very immediately felt like the wrong choice, the wrong decision, but there may have been situations at play where it was almost an irreparable choice, or they may have wrestled with that for quite some time, kind of the pride and ego, not wanting to reach out and admit they were wrong, or apologize, or kind of do what it would take in order to earn a place back into your heart, or into your life. But it feels like they've gone through, or are in the midst of, or just kind of completing some sort of process of growth, up-leveling, evolution, ascension. They're a lot more open-minded than they were in the past. They're open-minded as far as the connection is concerned. And it feels like they come forth with maybe no real expectations of like a set in stone, this is what I want the future between the two of us to look like. But it feels like somebody who may want to start very simply with you and reestablish a friendship, have an open conversation, which may have been something lacking in the past, admitting their shortcomings, confessing anything that they had held inside or withheld from you in the past. So it may be very surprising, kind of the version of this individual that sort of reemerges into your reality, a very different person than you had been dealing with before, which could open up new possibilities and potentials. It almost feels like somebody you'd have to meet again for the first time, because they are no longer the version of themselves that you were dealing with in the past. So with that, it almost might be something that is kind of the embodiment of the blessing and love that you were hoping for. It's not just reconnecting with this individual, but they may be even more compatible with you now than was the case in the past, because they've had to discover themselves. They've had to step into some kind of process of kind of shedding a layer or a version of them, or maybe many different things from their life, in order to kind of allow their true self, more of their authenticity to emerge. This could be somebody that their entire life looks very different from how it looked when you were last dealing with them. So it feels like something that it may even sort of activate kind of a whole new potential. If this is something where this person almost, it feels like a previous version of them, like an unawakened or more of a lower vibrational version of this individual that they were operating as, they were embodying that when you might have gone in separation with them, that feels to be a version that was like just a lesson. If this individual had not endeavored the changes that they've endeavored, if they had continued to resist the process of change, within themselves, or maybe towards some kind of like spiritual path, some kind of calling, some kind of, ascension in general, then it would have sort of locked them into this place of they would always just be a lesson for you. But it feels like this person has unlocked a different layer of like abundance for themselves and their life from the inside out, and it's opened up new potential that if you meet with this person, and again, it's the energy of like you'd have to re-meet this person, you'd have to get to know the individual that they've become, and if that aligns with sort of who you are, who you've become, then it feels like there's infinite possibilities as far as what could unfold in this situation. This might be the biggest blessing because it's almost a highly evolved spiritual connection is possible because each of you have become highly evolved, more spiritual versions of yourselves than you were when you were last in contact with one another. We also have Wolf, Mastery. So again, this is somebody that it feels like has dealt with a lot of their shadows. They've created balance within themselves. They've become the yin to their own yang, and they are now able to see and receive you and reciprocate with you in a more healthy and wholehearted manner than was the case in the past. This definitely could be almost like a twin flame or like a higher level soulmate sort of connection, a counterpart situation where you both may have mirrored to each other your deepest fears and also your greatest potentials. And so very much like a push-pull dynamic, deeply magnetized towards one another and highly triggered and running from your own reflections, each in your individual ways. So it feels like there were lessons that needed to be learned that this person on their part, they have successfully mastered that. They have closed out certain cycles and have risen triumphant from that. So it feels like, again, they've created some sort of rebirth for themselves. They've reimagined themselves and their life in some way. This isn't just the energy of somebody who, changed one thing. It feels like everything is very different about this person, about their reality, how they move through the world, their perceptions on self, work that they had been avoiding, doing within or doing in their life to kind of create more of a sense of alignment. It feels like they have become very proactive in that. They become very enthusiastic. They've achieved milestones that might seem very surprising for this individual, a version of them that kind of steps forth out of sort of the sands of time, and they're unrecognizable in a lot of ways. It feels like it's positive and healthy change for the better, which has now unlocked the potential of this could be the biggest blessing in love, but it's going to require the two of you reconnecting with one another and seeing, does that chemistry and potential that we had in the past that was like a failure to launch, or right person, wrong time, or, whatever the wounding was, whatever the interference or the blocks or the obstacles and challenges that created some degree of separation or distance. Since those things, it feels like for the most part, have been overcome in both of your lives, there's a sense of almost like what exists now, the versions of yourselves that you have become. Is there that potency? Is there that spark? Is there that staying power that maybe couldn't be fully actualized in the past? So there's an element of mystery with this, but it brings forth almost the energy of excitement. So this might even be kind of the biggest blessing in love, because this person has become like the gift to themselves, and it feels like you have become the gift to yourself as well, in terms of each of you sort of giving yourselves the love that you had wished you had received from other people. That might have been a big component. As far as like your time apart from one another, healing inner child wounds, closing out any kind of like wounds or sort of aspects and issues from previous relationships, to where it's almost you've learned to invest within yourselves more completely, so you're able to invest with another person more completely. So it's almost like the element of surprise in this situation, but a very pleasant surprise or something very unexpected in terms of like the developments of this person, the nature of who has emerged on the other side of this process of transformation. They may be somebody who is able and willing to give or give ownership to their feelings in a more wholehearted way than had been the case in the past, which it feels like is a blessing because it opens the lines of a deeper layer of communication and connectivity between the two of you. This person has taken the time to find themselves, and it feels like they are now kind of in a place of recognizing or answering the call of their heart towards you, towards trying to repair the situation, towards trying to bring peace and loving energies into the situation to kind of offset any sort of deception or chaos that may have been the case in the past, which it feels like whether you start a relationship with this person, you take them back, maybe a friendship develops, or it's just kind of the closure that you were looking for. It feels like it's a big blessing. It's something which fills you up emotionally speaking, rather than kind of drains or depletes. We also have forgiveness. So again, this energy of somebody maybe getting ready to take a leap of faith, to reemerge, to reach out. It feels like they have evolved in such a substantial capacity that it's going to be more than a simply an I'm sorry. It's almost like, hi, nice to meet you again. That there's an aspect or element, maybe even you are so transformed, you are so different. You're both going to have to kind of feel through the situation. What was right before, is it still right now? Do we still want the same things? Are these transformed versions of ourselves, do they align with kind of the higher nature of love that we've discovered and cultivated within ourselves? Can we share that with one another? Feels like there's something that deeply compels this person towards you. They are magnetized towards you. They're kind of willing to do what it takes to prove that they have changed, to prove that they've evolved. It feels like the energy of sort of actions that correspond and align with and accompany promises or apologies or words and declarations that are made. So somebody that might have held back before, it's almost the energy of kind of giving, being more forthright, being more open as far as their feelings for you, or the lengths to which they are willing and able and interested in going to kind of prove that they have changed, prove that they are worthy of your time and attention and affection, prove that they have kind of seen the light in a way, in terms of the value of who you are, the rarity of the connection between the two of you, and whatever needs to be done to kind of rebuild that, repair that, and then protect and cherish that into the long term. So it may even be like a dream come true. All the things you wished this person would sort of change, it feels like for a lot of you, they've changed that, or they're in the process of change. They've figured it out. They've had some kind of wake-up call, maybe several wake-up calls. They've had to rebuild their life in somewhere. They've chosen to kind of take strides in a different sort of direction. Maybe motivated by the separation between the two of you, or motivated by other things. It has brought them some degree of clarity. You may have been dealing with someone who was very unawakened. Their priorities were focused on kind of different things other than like love or higher level love in the past. But it feels like they've gone through some sort of process of like unfolding themselves from that place of maybe toxicity, a lot of hurt, a lot of wounding, operating as kind of dominantly within their shadow, or very kind of ego driven in the past. And this feels like someone that's transcended all of that. They've learned to manage that component of themselves, and they bring forth almost the energy of kind of clarity, which it feels like in and of itself will be kind of like the greatest blessing in love, to understand that your impact had meaning with this person. Your experiences together were not just for nothing. The time apart has been used wisely on both of your parts. So regardless of sort of what you choose to do in this situation, it feels like it's something that may provide you a lot of peace of mind and peace within your heart as well, which is definitely a blessing. And we also have resolution. So again, somebody that wants to like tie up loose ends with you, clear up any sort of misunderstandings. There is a possibility though that the two of you have grown and evolved into entirely different people, or this person, by the time they make it to you, it could be too little too late. Unless they're knocking on your door right now, they're still steps away from sort of presenting themselves out in the open. So there is always that possibility that it feels like they'll follow through with some degree of communication, some degree of truth, some effort to reach out. But then it's a question of sort of what's going on in your life at that point. Where are you on your journey? Is this version of you compatible with the version of them that they have become? And it feels like if you don't choose to move forward with them, or it's not possible to move forward at that time with them in terms of romance, it at the very least will be like a blessing, the biggest blessing in love, because it's closure of maybe the most deep open wound that you've had, or the thing that took the greatest toll on you. It required you to kind of go through an arduous process of re-becoming, or putting your pieces together in a different way, some kind of healing, some kind of transcendence that was required, that it feels like you've almost created peace or a degree of acceptance, maybe even detachment from the situation on your own in a very singular energy. So whatever this person kind of brings forth, it either provides that vindication, or just that sense of like this wasn't all for nothing. This, this wasn't all in your head. This wasn't just, limerence. This wasn't just something that, was a reflection purely of like toxicity or woundedness, but that on both people's parts, there was some chemistry, there was some spiritual connection, there was some kind of greater mechanism that was activated, a kind of process of change that needed to take place. That both of you have, you've kind of been through some things. You've transfigured yourselves. You have grown, you have healed, and you have evolved. And so it may be that whatever it is that they are able to present or provide, it just sort of allows you to kind of put the situation to rest once and for all. It clears up any sort of lingering doubts, or kind of gives you that missing piece that you weren't able to create, or kind of fill in the gaps for yourself single-handedly. So it feels like something that provides a lot of closure, which can also be kind of the aspect of your closing out an idea of a version of this person. You may have been very attached to kind of a notion of who it is that would sort of present themselves, how they were operating before, and what that would look like for them to kind of come forth in the energy of wanting forgiveness, expressing apology, whatever that looks like, looking to reconnect. And so who it is that actually turns up, it feels like it's a very different version of them. It's somebody you've not dealt with before, in their body. It's a version of themselves that, may not have had much experience as far as love is concerned. It's maybe somebody who's really just taken the time in their own energy, just deal with some things, heal some things, work through some things. So this may even be where it's like fresh beginning, the blessing of kind of the newness of a connection, because you both have sort of been investing exclusively within yourselves, which opens up the possibilities of something, that brings forth a lot of healing, but then also kind of regenerate experiences as far as love is concerned, because you're building in a different direction based on kind of different versions of yourselves. We also have miracle healing. So again, it may be like a miracle that this person turns up, or, back in your life, or sort of what they've been through, what they've gone through, what they've chosen to do in order to evolve past a version of themselves or the life that they were living in the past. It may be everything that you were looking for. It's that wish fulfillment. It's something that provides you perhaps with a degree of understanding that your faith in your journey that you've been on, your willingness to kind of go the distance, even to detach from this person and sort of take your power back and invest in yourself, that it's paid off. It's been worth it, because they, on their side of the equation, have also been through a process of personal transformation and growth. You've gifted them the time and space to kind of find themselves. And it feels like for most of you, this person has successfully found themselves. And so they are finding their way back to you to take things to the next level, or it feels like they're in a place in their life where even if it just provides some sort of closure for you, that in and of itself will almost be kind of like mission accomplished for this person. And we also have quiet time. So again, this is the energy of, you don't necessarily see this person coming. It's like the element of surprise, or you're anticipating like a version of them or what that would look like. And it might almost shock you. You might almost be speechless when they turn up, or the manner in which they kind of present their apology. They present themselves. They're able to kind of pour and provide into the situation in a way that maybe they just took or they resisted in the past. That it's something that there may be no words to kind of describe that. Something that could be very inspiring, something that could almost help you to understand the divine nature of the connection that you're in, divine intervention at work, or the necessity to kind of have that space, have that quiet time, have that period of no contact, because it feels like for most of you that are resonating with this person's using this time wisely. They've used it wisely. If they haven't the whole time, they get it now, and they're investing in that, trying to kind of do the work within themselves, make the changes necessary in order to be able to put the best foot forward, the most authentic foot forward, to kind of match your frequency, to give what they were unable to, or unwilling to give in the past, in order to do what they can in order to step forth into the greatest possibility of a future potential. So either way, whether you take this person back, whether they arrive before someone else kind of takes their place by your side, whatever that sort of looks like, or if it just provides some degree of kind of closure for you, if it's, not something where you feel it's aligned, or Perhaps it's kind of like too late when they show up. Either way, it feels like it's the greatest blessing because it helps to kind of put into perspective sort of maybe what you've been through with this person, the journey that you've been on, and kind of the necessity of it all is like a process of personal transformation that then allows kind of a higher frequency of love, either with this individual or, if they take their time kind of coming in and someone else comes in the meantime, it almost feels to be something that you've created that version of yourself by virtue of your experiences with this other individual that is able to receive and reciprocate a higher, healthier form of love. So either way, it's kind of a win-win situation. So let me get some message cards from this person's higher self and see what they would tell you right now if they could. Okay, and we have, it should have been you. So this person definitely recognizes what they missed out on, the missed opportunity in this situation. If there was wounding from other third-party situations, or if they chose someone over you, went back to another person, it feels like they learned pretty quickly, or they sort of saw the error in their ways. They made a wrong choice. They made a wrong decision. So this might even be somebody that's, coming to confess everything, coming to, tell you some very shocking and surprising things that they may have had to learn the hard way, kind of what was the price or what was kind of the result of choosing the path of fear over the path of love, which it feels like did not yield very good results for them. So this is somebody it feels like that's getting ready to take a leap of faith to try to win your trust back, earn your heart back. They're wanting this connection. If they weren't ready in the past, they are readying themselves, or they have readied themselves to go the distance with you. And we also have, things are not what you think. I am delaying endings. So again, there may be like a third party that was involved in the situation, or they could still be wrapping up the loose ends with this person. That might be something that's very surprising if they've sort of closed it out, maybe with like an on again, off again ex, or something where there almost might have been sort of a guardedness or a hesitation as a result of previous connections that they've been in, a long-term relationship, a marriage, some divorce they've been through, something that had kind of made them wall off their heart to where they weren't open to receive and reciprocate love with you in the past. That might have been the stumbling block here that kind of pushed you both in opposite directions. It feels like something that they're kind of dismantling, that they're closing this out, and it feels like this is somebody that will keep themselves at a distance from you until they are able to sort of present with this totally unattached energy. Nobody kind of on the roster, nobody sitting on the bench, not trying to juggle multiple connections, working through sort of any aspects of like a fear of experiencing love, a fear of being hurt in love again, maybe an inability to kind of properly receive love as a result of the experiences that they've had, of opening their heart up to the wrong people and getting hurt, or even the right people in the past and things falling apart, and kind of the emotional toll that took. So it might be kind of slow going for this person to make their way back towards you, which kind of reinforces the idea of like, if they make it in time, if you're still open, if you're still available, if it's still possible, it feels like there's a high likelihood that you and this person could have a very beautiful new start with one another that leads into something long-term for the two of you, that big blessing and love. But this process that they may be going through, especially if it's like closing out another connection, another relationship, that can be tedious. That can be something that takes a while. And so, if it doesn't happen in a timely enough fashion, it almost feels to be something that whatever they present with, whatever they provide, whatever they say or show up and do, it will be something that kind of helps you to close off once and for all this chapter with this individual. It provides you that sense of almost like it wasn't all for nothing. So either way, you walk away with a sense of peace out of this situation. And we also have, I don't like how things ended. So it feels like this person has definitely been ruminating about how they've handled the situation. It could have been a very intense connection between the two of you, kind of sparked an awakening, pivoted you both into like dark night of the soul in the aftermath of sort of going your separate ways. And so it feels like something, it's not been sitting well with this person, sort of how they treated you or mishandled your heart, things that were said or even words that were withheld in the past. So this is somebody who's kind of preparing themselves to try and repair the situation, try to give remedy to the circumstances, trying to kind of provide you with clarity, answer any questions that you may have had in the past, or just do the right thing in this situation. And we also have, I'm taking time away so I can understand my feelings. So again, this person is kind of doing some introspection. They're doing that soul searching. It feels like they're preparing sort of what they want to say to you, tying up loose ends in their life so they are able, if you are willing to sort of entertain them or, hear them out or kind of give them the time of day, they're wanting to make sure that they have the full space and capacity to devote very exclusively to maybe the tedious process of repairing the circumstance, or the ability to kind of invest in the growth potential of this situation. If it's somebody that, maybe held their feelings to themselves, it's the essence of almost, I want to make sure that I can give to you completely so that there are not limits placed upon what we can develop into. So I'm going to get some initials. This can be a first, middle, or last name of you or this person, or could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Got J, W, Q, E, T, N, D, L, G, V, W, F, D, H, F, and N. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link to that in the description box of the video. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well.